When I look back at my childhood, I often find myself comparing and contrasting the good and the bad, the positives and the negatives. I think it's hard to pinpoint the perfect recipe for raising kids, but there's definitely some things from my childhood that I added and some that I subtracted. Let's talk about it. So I was raised by a single mom. Grandparents were heavily involved, and I had the cool aunt. We went on family vacations, holidays were together. I played sports. My mom worked her ass off, but she made sure my life was awesome. She spent all of her energy on both of our lives and was the most committed person I've ever seen. If there was a definition of mama's boy, I was every bit of it. Eventually, she meets a man and they start low-key dating. Not gonna lie, I had some instinctual shit going on. She never told me they were dating. I could just smell love in the air. And at the time, at 9 years old, it smelled absolutely disgusting. We eventually blend families and move in together. It was definitely a clash of two entirely different worlds. One hand, you had a soft, parenting style where it was centered around the child's needs. And on the other hand, you had a militant dictatorship. Two very polarizing ways of parenting, definitely conflicting. I summarize it like this: the love from my mother made me a great person. The discipline and structure from my dad made me a better man. However, when both parents are parenting from two completely different sides of the spectrum, it foreshadows conflicting responses and reactions on how both parents handle each situation. And for me as a child, it was noticeable. So now as a father, it's important my wife and I are clear as day on the same page. So when mom or dad aren't in proximity of each other, we can both operate from the same playbook. Kids quickly learn who they should go to ask certain things. This is where the parent's relationship and communication is tested. I think what works best for my wife and I are sit-down discussions, whether the child is at a level of comprehension to enter the conversation or it's just the parents. Even if it's co-parents, same concepts apply. A planned meeting to discuss said topic has been helpful when tackling challenges in the household, for sure. I think the biggest difference between my childhood and my children's is they know they have a voice and they are heard. However, you can imagine how that could also be very problematic. And it is. It's a constant balance. But as they get older, they begin to comprehend more, and in return, they're able to understand more, and in return, they're able to articulate better. It's really a beautiful process to witness firsthand your child developing. My son is going on 14 years of age. I've been with him since he was right around a year and a half, and it's been quite a relief to see how much better off he is than when I was his age. It's a silent and subtle win to see the positive impact of your parenting. It's great. Parenting is a lot like delayed onset muscle soreness. When you work out, sometimes you feel the results right away. Sometimes you don't. The impact isn't always instant. Consistency and quality time is key. I think one of the differences in parenting from when I was a child to now as a parent is the impact of parenting is much more openly talked about, and it's just more discussed nowadays. Things back in the 90s and early 2000s were on more of a don't ask, don't tell commonality amongst households. Wasn't really good to talk about problems. Wasn't really encouraged. So when broaching any sort of issue, there was an unnerving tension. But I think things have changed for the better. I think in general, people are more open to talk about issues. We certainly raise our children to have a voice and to be heard. Another difference I found is back in the 90s era when they were locking all our dads up, pouring massive amounts of money into private prisons, they were subsequently encouraging the strong, independent woman notion, which I love independence and I love strong women. I was born on Independence Day and I was raised by an independent. The thing is, we need each other as a collective, and a lot of role models were removed from homes during that time. So when we were left with a lot of strong, independent women, but not very many male role models to support the upbringing of and raising of the next generation of men. What I think from the change from the 90s to now on the topic of positive male role models is we have more voices being heard through the access we have to spread information and what we're experiencing. So now we have to talk about it. But I do think we have more resources and help for parents and fathers specifically. For instance, things like this, things like BDE, a network of fathers and just great people. I think it's great the access we have to further our communities, and because we need better things to connect to, including the entertainment we plug into. Back when I was a child, TV was still pretty recent. Color TV, even more recent than the internet, social media, etc. All that shit rolled in, you know? And now you can scroll on your mobile TV and end up going down a rabbit hole into the next day. So in an era where everyone is scrolling, it's important to plug in the positive outlets. Algorithms are worth more than ever.